Hi, I'm August Keller, and this is my review of Captain America, The Winter Soldier. So, a lot of people consider this one of the best Marvel movies, MCU movies. That's because it implements a lot of political spy thriller influences. I get that. It has a lot of ideological differences and an internal struggle. So the conflicts feel more personal, and that yields drama and character development and relatively concise stakes. Everything's just much more immediate. And drama is maybe more of a weak point for the MCU in general. So for this to actually have some is refreshing. There are some themes, I would call them a little cursory or brief or light themes about overreaching power, surveillance, things like that. The acting has, of course, personality that has become a staple with MCU, but also it has some layers and intensity, which makes everything feel a little more legitimate. But still, I find the messages to be muddled. Most fundamentally, I find it tries to challenge nationalism, like blindly following, trusting in a nation, but it also endorses exceptionalism. The idea that some countries or people are exceptional, our ways of being are exceptional. So it kind of contradicts itself. It critiques and then kind of doubles back. And there isn't really a lot of complexity or hard choices. At the end of the day, Captain America, he is facing, pure villains, and so he doesn't have to really contend with a lot of nuance or internal debates. He ends up just having to beat the bad guy, and this kind of mutes the protagonist's arc. He never faces a real dilemma, like a moral choice. So he doesn't actually ever have to change. He ends up just kind of believing what he's believing the whole movie through. So in turn, the script's substance feels a little uncommitted, and even I found it a little trivializing. Whenever you introduce politics into a movie, I think you're kind of playing with fire, because you have to really honor those are touchy subjects and deserve to be really unpacked. And when you don't do that, it feels like you're trying to have it both ways. So yeah, all this is to say that I think the Winter Soldier, it lands somewhere between elevated and expected. You can feel it's kind of reaching for something higher than the average MCU movie, but I don't think it really grasps it all. So I want to give it credit for kind of trying, but I can't give it too much credit because it doesn't go all the way. So yeah, somewhere in between. So it's better than most MCU movies, I agree. But I don't know if I'd say it's, an exceptional movie overall. But let's talk about the text. Technically, I think The Winter Soldier provides improved weight, so action feels a little more weighty, a little more grounded and real, and the punches feel harder and things like that. But I also found the style to be pretty neutral, and the tones to be kind of inconsistent. Sometimes it's trying to be a serious political thriller. Sometimes it's trying to be a light, superhero movie that's not challenging its viewers too much. The imagery has, some barriers and spacing where, characters are divided by like a line between them, which conveys meaning. There's good movement, and I think the action is mostly pretty clear. But I do think it gets cluttered, and I do find it to be a bit drab at times. The colors are pretty muted, which I find unfortunate. The editing keeps a solid momentum despite some bloat. I think the movie's a little longer than it needs to be, but it feels brisk enough. The sound has genre elements and a few subjective distortions, so that's nice. I mean, genre elements are, are important for a movie like this, and I think the subjective distortions, like muting or muffling, that are related to a character's emotions, I think go a long way. The production design I found a little dull. I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the cinematography, but it has scale and iconography and grounded intentions. It's trying to not get too cartoony, which it does a good balance of that, feeling giving the superhero genre but also the political thriller genre kind of meets in the middle. I think it does it well with that, but it is kind of dull. The cast is star-studded, of course. The music I found very safe. This is a pretty good example of the classic Marvel music feeling kind of like just there and not really making much of an impact one way or another. The effects, I think there is an over-reliance on CGI, especially for a movie like this that's trying to feel like grounded and gritty. The CGI really detracts from that. But there are a lot of practical stunts and pyrotechnics too, and I honestly, that goes a long way, and I really appreciate that. So, yeah, overall, I think The Winter Soldier doesn't quite reach its excellent potential. I think, there's a movie in here, or, it's close to being, it could have been, on that level with like The Dark Knight or, Spider-Man 2, something like that. And I don't think it gets that to that level, but it's still an above average blockbuster, and I do think it is one of the better MCU movies. So yeah, I would say I liked it. I'm kind of on the cusp there, but I do think I liked it, and I do think objectively I do understand that it is a good movie for sure. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. If you like what I'm doing here, please feel free to like and subscribe. I also have an Instagram linked in the description. I'd love support there, or here, but at the very least, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time. Okay, thanks, bye.